Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignole, and this is all part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I interview a Black woman a day for 29 straight days during Black History Month. And today, I'm super excited to have Jeanni Johnson, who's a psychotherapist and founder and CEO of Psych. She has an amazing story, and I can't wait for you all to hear it. Take a listen. Hey, Jeanni.
Hi, how you doing, Laura?
Yeah, good. Interviewing folks, talking out for days on end. It's all good. I'm so delighted to have you on the show. So, first question, really easy, and answer's always awesome. I'm sure yours will be no different. So, Jeanni, what was your first job?
Oh my goodness. My first job was with Upward Bound Vision Quest many years ago. I was, I think, 12 or 13 years old, and I worked for their summer camp. I was one of their food inspectors. We had to ensure that the students were eating according to the food pyramid.
Oh, wow. And how'd that work out for you?
It was I think it was a great start, a really great start to my career in to my job, just to working as a whole. It was the best probably invite to the workforce that I could have had. It taught you about responsibility, about being able to steer people in the right direction when they don't know how or what to do, and just how to deal with a lot of different personalities in mind. So I thought it was pretty great.
So, okay. So, it will teach you how to deal with people and
Mhm.
how their varying personalities and around their needs. So, it does correlate to the world you're in right now.
Yeah, it does in a
Uh,
big way.
Yeah, which always happens when everyone folks say their first job. It always, in some way, shape, or form, get like maneuvers to somehow what they're doing right now. So after that first job, how did we get to be having this conversation right now? What was that career journey like?
Oh wow, that was well, I've worked for the past 15 years in the field of psychiatry. I started my career in acute care, which is care inside of hospitals when someone is having a mental health crisis. And in my 20s, I worked there and really enjoyed being in hospitals up until the last 3 years or so, where I decided that it was time to venture out and start to see clients on my own in my own practice on a full-time basis. And then obviously I built For Love and Psych, which is largely my one-to-one work and some coaching, but on a greater scale, I want to build it to education for people who really have no understandings of how to support themselves, of how to care for themselves mentally, and really need education on how to navigate the systems that currently exist so that they get the most out of them, but also they have the most autonomy while collaborating with them, because a lot of that is lost in many of the processes that exist right now. So,
Oh, I've heard. I
mhm.
have witnessed with friends. So we're going to talk a lot about this. What prompted you to create the company?
Oh, absolutely. It was seeing a need. I mean, it's always a need, right? Seeing various individuals who I love very much, seeing my own mother, seeing friends, seeing colleagues and their families really struggling with the way mental health care looks right now. There are a lot of barriers, including people being beholden to insurance companies and requiring labels in order to be cared for. I just didn't like it. I am of the mindset that we don't necessarily need labels to care for one another, that it's important that when you note that there's something going wrong with you, when you note that there's an issue that you're having in your life, that the first questions that you're asked are not, or the first remedies that are being offered to you are not you being hospitalized or you requiring medication or you requiring a label so that an insurance company can tell you what care you meet criteria for. I'm of the mindset that when you say, hey, something's going on, the person on the other end says to you, well, tell me about it. Tell me what it looks like, what it feels like. Tell me how you've tried to solve the issue previously. And they take that love and that care and that support and teach you how to care for yourself before they try to intervene with outside means that are beyond you.
Oh my gosh, that is so necessary. And, it's interesting because I think for a lot of folks, especially people of color, when thinking about trying to get help and navigating the mental health system, it's a hot mess. What are some like easy tips that you can kind of give folks if they have a family member or if they are themselves who are able to get the mental health that they need?
Absolutely. Well, I think the first thing that I always recommend for people is gather the information first, understand the problem first. So before you're in front of someone who may have a very clinical approach that is very black and white, very,
Hmm.
excuse the pun, but very cut and dry, sit down as a community and whatever that community looks like, if that's your best friend, who it looks like, if it's your mother, if it's your father, if it's your partner, any of those individuals, sit down and have a round table and just sort of get an understanding of what is actually happening. So assess, well, how is it limiting my function? How is it affecting whether or not I'm able to go to work? How is it affecting our relationship? What are they seeing versus what am I seeing? If you have a clearer sense of how these things are troubling you, you usually can resolve the issue with a great deal more, like just expeditiously, comparative to like it being a much, much, much longer journey. I think that's the first tip. I think the second thing is utilizing spaces and places in your community that you already feel supported. Some people don't realize that they already have support in place. They already have a pastor or a reverend who they can go to. And if they were to look into fellowship or look into and ask their reverend for more personal attention, they could already get that. And there could be help that is there, especially when they're anchored by religion. Some people have within their workforce, they're worried about what it would cost and what would happen if I had to pay for these things out of pocket. Sometimes your workforce, especially now, already has collaborations and already has contracts with mental health providers these days. And they could be remote from remote work, which is very big right now, or someone that you can see in the community. So sort of assess those things that are free to you and readily available for you before you go out and try to seek something outside of what's already in your community. I think the other thing that's a really good tip too is just taking time out to sit with yourself and really take a look at what's been going on with you in the past. Most people say 30 days. I think really like 2 weeks is really important. I think you can gather a lot of data about yourself and a lot of understanding about the ways that maybe you're not showing up as well as you would want to for yourself if you look at the last 2 weeks of your life.
Yeah, and see where you're at, and then
Mhm.
if someone is in like a crisis, and you're a family member, how do you kind of recommend for folks like what is available for families to help when someone's in a crisis?
Yeah. Whenever someone's in a crisis and we recognize that this situation goes beyond us being intervened, I think it's really important to make sure that they are safe and you stay with them and you're talking them through as best you can, but also that you're reaching out to suicide hotlines, that you're utilizing urgent care or the emergency room. I am going to say urgent care before the emergency room, only because
Ah,
yeah,
interesting.
only because urgent cares tend to be smaller. They do tend to be able to have and deal with urgent situations and get you resources that would be helpful. And they're just quieter. You tend to be able to be seen much more quickly. And again, when we're trying to limit costs, because the healthcare system can be very costly, urgent care is a much less expensive service than the emergency room is. If you have a great relationship with your primary care doctor and you find you can always reach out to them, you find you're always able to get a hold of them, you can always get an appointment very soon with them. You can also look to reaching out to your primary care doctor as well. They are well equipped as medical professionals to do an assessment, an initial assessment, and then hand that off to a specialist that is a psychiatrist or psychologist.
Really helpful advice there. Thank you so much for those tips.
Yeah.
So, talking about for you, you know, what's one thing you thought I'm never even going to get through it, and then you did throughout your career?
Oh my goodness. One thing I'm never going to get through, and I got through it. I think I had a really hard time maybe about 12 years ago. I had what's called an ectopic pregnancy. I've always wanted a family. I wasn't always sure that I wanted children. Now, I've always wanted my own family, though, to be married and have a really strong relationship with my partner. But then my partner and I at the time, we have had this wonderful surprise. And, you learn, oh, I'm pregnant and life is great. And then in the next breath, there's pain that's going on and things that aren't right. And you're getting assessed and they're figuring out that actually you don't have what's called a viable pregnancy. So, you will not be able to have a child, that your body is going through all of the steps and stages of motherhood. And however, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to have your child. There is no technology right now that can move an embryo that's placed in the wrong section of your body to the right section of your body. And so you will be losing this child, and we're going to try to do as best as we can. But, there are things that can go wrong. And unfortunately, things did go wrong. The issue was that the pregnancy continued in my body, and I ended up having to have emergency surgery
Wow.
to relieve the embryo. And it's a very terrible sort of process. I can't tell you what a mind, like it shifts the mind in a way that it's hard to understand, especially in today's sort of geopolitical climate. There's this
Yeah.
understanding of like womanhood and like what abortion means and things like that. And I'm in a room, 12 years ago, I'm a youngin', and I'm in this happy, loving relationship with this man who I care for so deeply. And we're thinking we're going to be welcoming this child and growing this child. And then that abruptly stops. And someone says to you, oh, this is in the wrong place. And we're going to give you a shot that's going to terminate the life. It's going to ensure that the cells don't continue to grow rapidly, because that's what happens. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What does that mean? Like, is there a way to not do that? Like, and they're like, no, because if this stays where it is, it's going to kill you. So we can't not do this. We have to do this. And in my brain, I'm like, does that mean that I'm choosing to end life? Because I'm raised
Right.
religious, right? I'm raised
Right.
in a way that says, wait, I don't know if this is the right thing, but it is the method that is necessary to preserve life. There is no viable way that this embryo can grow into a fetus, can grow into a child. It's not possible. And if it isn't removed, it will end my life. And it nearly did end my life, because actually the intervention didn't work and I had to have emergency surgery. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was a lot. And it's one of those times where you're a sound person who, you feel does everything right. And you're looking at your family and the structure of your family. And I'd never had women in my family that I knew of who had lost children or who weren't able to have kids. My younger sister by that time had 4 children. 4. My oldest sister
Wow.
had 2. So it was kind of like, whoa. And my mother had 3 children. So, and so on and so forth. No woman in my family, from my understanding, had gone through that. So I felt, deeply inadequate and like I wasn't capable, and why it's
Right.
happening to me. And so it took a lot of like understanding, hey, no, there is a whole history here. These things have happened to the women in
It
my,
happened.
many of them had
Right.
miscarried before they had full families. And it opened up a conversation, and it created a bright spot in my life where it was a very hard spot that I thought, I don't know how I'm going to move through that.
Wow. And thank you for sharing that. And I think, interestingly, as you said, like in this current climate, it's even more important for folks to understand like what this actually means, and like what the steps of what this is. And that, like, if these interventions aren't done, someone can die.
Right.
But and it's like also when it's a wanted pregnancy, or it's not like it's
Mm,
something where you didn't want. But
right.
like, these things can happen, and people having empathy and understanding for people, and obviously helping people deal with the mental health struggles that result in some of what has happened to them is, requires community, not prosecution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's so charged these days. And a big part of my work will always be to preserve and amplify humanity. And I think that experience was just a great example of how you can look at things very clinically, and you can pick things apart in ways that are very cerebral and full of thought. And but at the core of these things that occur is a human being who's struggling, who needs help, who needs explanation as to what has happened to them, who needs to understand and connect to loss and grief. And yeah, I got a lot better with doing that in that time of my life.
I can only imagine. It requires this humanity simple humanity. And I'm always amazed by folks don't understand that that's all we're asking for here. We're not asking for anything more than be
Mm,
human and have some degree of understanding that folks can have challenges that you will understand as incredibly complex, and to give people some grace for that.
absolutely. Yes, I love that. Grace, yeah, number one.
So to go a little bit on the executive side of the house, you're doing all this really amazing work, helping train dollars lives to be amazing patients. What is going to do for Jenny? What do you do for your self-care now?
Oh, for my self-care now. Oh my goodness. So many things. So many things. I think the first thing is like I start my day in daily devotional. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, it means I'm a person who's a religious person. So I start my day in prayer. I start my day with an open mind and an open heart, taking in and writing about sort of my openness for whatever the day brings and just working on my relationship with the God of my understanding. I work out every day. I work out, and that's 6 to 7 days a week. I work out from 45 minutes to 1 hour. It's usually a good cardio session where I'm reading as I'm working out. I'm reading aloud because it's important to me. Some people they like to be in their head a whole lot. I like to be out of my head. I prefer to be out of my head, even when I'm alone. So I speak aloud any texts I read. If I'm praying, I pray obviously aloud. I don't pray in my mind. I speak out the things that I want over my life, and I speak out the things that I'm looking to take in. It's really important to me. I get sunshine on my balcony every day. Lots of
Wonderful.
sunshine, please. If you're listening, get the sunshine. And it's good for you. And it brightens the day and it tells your body that we're up and we're awake and we're ready to go. I drink lots of water. I talk to my friends I talk to one of my good friends every Tuesday. We have our special day to plan for our lives and build out what we're doing, in our businesses and things like that. And then I talk to a grouping of my friends, which is a grouping of 6 women who I'm completely and totally in love with. They are my tribe. And I talk with them every single Wednesday, and we give an update on how we're doing and what's going on for us in our personal lives and our professional lives. And it's like probably the highlight of my week. And I talk to my parents every Wednesday as well. I give them that same update on Wednesdays, not about business, just about us and what we're doing and what's going on for us. But those are my self-care regimens, and I live by them for sure.
Damn, that's detailed. I appreciate it. I know it is interesting. Like I had never thought about the fact about praying out loud or saying the affirmations loudly, but I realized because I used to just pray in my mind. But I do recall now. I feel like I've done it in the past, and I felt like it felt better saying it out loud. So I definitely think that's something I'm gonna bring back to my daily routine as well. So thank you for the reminder.
Oh
See,
yeah, absolutely.
this is why I love doing this because for me, I get all the tips.
All the gems. I love that.
Uh, so do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
Oh, absolutely. I always have an ask. My ask is that you take some time out for yourself and that you evaluate your self care regimen, just like we asked about not long ago, and really decide if you are showing up courageous, if you're showing up living a values based life, or if you are highly focused on your productivity or highly focused on money or highly focused on something that is not aligned with your true purpose. And if you're struggling with any of those things and you're in New York or Minnesota, come on and take a look or anywhere in the world, actually, you can take a look at For Love and Psych. We're here and wanting to provide education, but that you come on by and be in community.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Oh gosh, it's full of so many wonderful gems. Okay, last question for you. I it's completed. What brings you joy?
Oh my goodness, so many things. I would say the greatest joy of my life is my family. Honestly, that it brings me the greatest joy. We have had so many littles that have been born lately. So we're a blessed family in that way. And I can say being able to be invited to baby showers and to birthdays and to, you know, declarations of faith, declaring children to faith, and just watching them all grow and go to school and talk when they haven't spoken and things like that. Like So I'm in the era of my life where both my family, who were young family members who'd grown up, and then my friends who are married and having kids, maybe on their second kids, they're all inviting me in to those journeys. And, the families just keep expanding. And I think I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. So yeah, that brings me a lot of joy.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Jenny, you are just a light of goodness in a sea of darkness when it comes to helping people with mental health. And so thank you so much for sharing great tips where people can go, but also your own story, because I know it will help people to have folks who've gone through similar, who are going through similar, what you've experienced, and will just that will resonate with so many people because it's like it's just about the humanity and the grace that you shared just now. So thank you so much for being part of 29 Days of Magic.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me here. And it's been great to be in community with you and so nice to sit down and talk with you. Thank you, Laura.
Awesome. So we'll put details in the show notes so folks can find out how to connect with Jeannie and check out forloveinsight.com and all the good things that she's working on these days. And with that, that is our show.